Thank you for your thoughtfulness and consideration. After all this, however, I must pass on your request to be a guest on your program. I hope this clears any miscommunication between my office and yours. It certainly doesn't. There was no miscommunication on our part. You can now stop calling, as we are a very busy office trying to put on a show of our own. So Robert Morton went back on his word twice. So our feeling is, boys and girls, do not grow up to be a TV producer of a network TV show. Do not sell your soul. Keep your integrity. Do not let yourself become dehumanized. Do not grow up to be a producer of a TV network show like Late Night with David Letterman. going all around the island of Manhattan on a boat trip, seeing all kinds of things that you don't see usually. And George Tooks we have to thank for this, because he brought you back these pictures. This was all done in the year 1976, and it's a lot of fun. So we're waiting for the crowd to gather, and here we go. Listen, I was going to ask you folks, what department is it of the United States government that gives out the birth statistics? Somebody told me it was the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, but I should think the department that would give out the birth statistics would be the Department of Labor. You read those signs and those advertisements that the telephone company puts out, dial a joke? I didn't know what that meant, but then I finally, well, I think it refers to some of the operators you get. But dial a joke is pretty good, though. I like it. And you see signs and ads in the newspapers for movies, and sometimes it says rated R, and sometimes don't you wonder if the R stands for rotten? Now, George Tooks, folks, is he's our roving reporter, and he's out on a boat. He's going to take you on a boat cruise today. Isn't that nice? You're going on a 3-hour boat cruise, and he's going to tell you about it. And I think if we can reach him now, let's stand by. Come in, George Tooks, wherever you are.
Almost center of the screen, you'll see 2 sailboats, and they are really beautiful. Looks like they're having a race of some kind, and you can also see the water jetting up over the edge of the Columbia that we're on. Very shortly we're going to be taking the time to meet and to talk to Captain William. That's Captain William Stephan, folks, who is at the wheel, and they're using a lecture to demonstrate everything that is going on here. Now, this has also been covered and copyright and everything else, all rights reserved by the firm. Folks, with Captain William Stephan at the wheel, and it's something that we hope that all of you will get involved with, because it's really a delight being out here. There's a very brisk breeze that is coming in on us right now. The water is nice and beautiful, and it's really quite a day to be out here. And we hope you're having as much fun as we are. Very shortly, we're going to go to the helm, and we're going to talk to Captain Stephan and find out what his viewpoint is on this and how he likes doing this. So just stick with us, folks. This is George Tooks for Glendora. We're right now in the wheelhouse of the Columbia, and we're having a ball. This gentleman you see in front of me with the brains and the steering wheel in one hand is Captain William Stephan. And it is Captain Stephan who is responsible for providing us the direct locations and everything else for the tour. Captain Stephan, I want to thank you first for inviting us to be guests on the Columbia.
Oh, you're very welcome. We're glad to have you.
Well, it's certainly my pleasure. So I'm really having a wonderful time, and I know everybody else is too. I understand that you have been involved with, you have been captain of this vessel for a few years now.
Yeah, I've been down here for about 8 years now.
That's really great. That is fantastic. Do you still get as much of a kick out of what you're doing as you did 8 years ago?
Oh yeah, I like the outdoors and it's fun being around boats.
That's wonderful. How about flying around, and you see that the ocean is getting a bit turbulent now, that the waves are really, it's really becoming choppy water. I should have brought my seasick pills with me. Right now you are seeing Bell Harbor, which is right here on the border, and look at the choppy waves as they're going up.
Protecting the outside of Holland in a harsh crackdown extending to many years. Boundary construction in 1664 removed from the Dutch king, ordering the removal of all restraints, a major victory for the forces of the retreat. However, this event was overshadowed by the English conquest of the Atlantic Canada in 1664. Long Island, Westchester, and Staten Island were combined as the county of Yorkshire and remained as such until 1683. At that time, the name Queen began to appear. At this time, the name covered an area including all of present-day Nassau County. The Queen settlement based their existence on agriculture, augmented by fishing and hunting.
We're now going to go topside and give you a bird's eye view of this beautiful cruise. We are now topside, and if you will look straight ahead, you'll see quite a few ships, or at least a couple now, that seem to be just resting from long days of work. Look over here at the work that we're now passing, and it must really be fascinating living so close to the water like this. I know it's something that I've always wanted to do myself. One of these days, when I learn how to swim, I will. We're now looking at Jamaica Bay, which is totally uninhabited except for birds. For those of you who would like to relocate, maybe you should check with your Chamber of Commerce. Further in the background, you can see the Manhattan skyline, and it's really beautiful and made more magnificent by the beautiful day that we're all enjoying out here. This is George Stokes, substituting for Glendora. Right now we are looking at what seems to be a water skier who wasn't too successful. Well, better luck next time. I just hope that the Loch Ness Monster doesn't come out and give him a hand. Well, here comes a boat. That's good. We're still in the water, folks, but
Well now, folks, this is Glendora, and George Tooks is the roving reporter, and he's out on the Columbia. Is that the name of the boat, George?
yes, that's right, the Columbia.
And you were out at this point. Where were you?
We were out by, I think it was around Far Rockaway,
Far Rockaway, yeah.
in that vicinity.
Yeah, hey, that's keen. It's a beautiful trip, isn't it?
Yes, it certainly is. And the weather is so fantastic that we couldn't have chosen a better day to get out there.
What do you say we hear some music from the Country Brothers? Who belongs to the Country Brothers?
Well, the Country Brothers consist of Don Thursby and his guitar brother Jose, and Chet and Jerome Barnes, Ed Tooks, and myself, George Tooks.
Yeah. Such a lot of the world to see. We're at the same rainbows in, waiting around the bend. My huckleberry friend, Moon River, and me. Waiting around the bend, my huckleberry friend, Moon River, and me. Moon
I write this song to you with the words that I feel. Deep in life's fantasy, oh, I've found a dream that is real. Oh, I found a dream come true, and I found it in you. I may not say the words just right, but you always seem to know just what I mean. And since you come along, you've shown me a world I'd never seen. Now my life is new because of you.
Hey, George Tooks, that was beautiful. Who was that singing?
That was, the lead was by Don Thursby, and there was the rest of the Country Brothers singing in the background.
And who wrote that song?
Don Thursby wrote the music and lyrics,
He wrote both. Wow.
and we arranged it and added further instrumentation and voices.
Hey, well, listen, thanks a lot, George Tooks, and thanks for our trip aboard the Columbia. Where are we now?
Well, we're now returning to Brooklyn, and we're almost back to the basin again.
Well, now, everybody, a chat with Glendora continues in its mad way, and right now we've brought into your homes a very prestigious gentleman. This is Mr. Dwayne Bogey, who is a vice president at NWA Advertising, and he is the top dog for the network television show, the Bell System Family Theater, and he's very pleased to be visiting with you.
One example, I'll give you one, was Arthur Miller's The Price, which we did with George C. Scott. Now, Mr. Hall didn't really think that that was a play that he really wanted to put on because it involved two brothers haggling at one another, and he didn't think that was the way brothers ought to behave. But yet he realized that it was a fine play, had great drama, was written by one of America's best playwrights, and that it deserved a television airing for the rest of the public, even though he personally may not have liked it.
Yeah.
But he felt it was worthwhile to do and had a quality aspect. And of course it won that year Best Show of the Year, Best Actor for George C. Scott, and Best Director for Fielder Cook. You know. So it did have a place on television. I think Hallmark has always felt that they didn't want things that were depressing. If there was tragedy involved, the end result would have to have an uplifting, inspirational kind of feel.
We need that.
Boy, we sure do. I wish there were more of it. But there is conflict in the world. There is human conflict, and you have to have it for good drama.
I certainly hope the 20th century at the end will have an uplifting effect.
No, I think right now the writing that is always the key to good television. I think I would like to encourage more writers to write things that are inspirational and uplifting, because we could use it. We're constantly looking for things, and even in my new assignment, we're looking for things like that.
Now, you started as the person you were assigned...
I was like broadcast supervisor in the early days, and then I directed some of the early Hallmark.
You did?
Yes, with Sarah Churchill. And then eventually worked into a producer's position and produced and co-produced with lots of good people like David Susskind, which we co-produced All Creatures, recently Caesar and Cleopatra with Alec Guinness, and John Biabuccio, Crown Matrimonial with Greer Garson, which I love. That's another favorite, and she is one of my all-time favorite actresses in person.
She's a nice person.
Oh, she's a lovely person, and such a lady.
She is?
Yeah, lovely lady to work with.
She always looks it.
Yeah, right.
Always wondered.
And I'm looking for a
Now,
property for
good.
her right now. I'd love to have Greer Garson again on television, because her appearances are too far and few between. There are people like that. Julie Harris, of course, is always... I think Julie Harris has done more Hallmark shows than any other actress, and then Judith Anderson, whom we adore. Yeah, she's done Lady Macbeth for us 3 times, and Cradle Song, and lots of other things.
Then I think you went from the producer to being the person, the manager of the whole thing, didn't you?
Yes, right, and into the corporate end of an account, which includes the selection of the television properties and the hiring of the producers and the directors and selecting the scripts and working with the network. We work very closely with the network because even though a sponsor or a producer might want to put something on, the network, you still have to have the network's approval.
Yeah.
We have to preempt regular programming with specials. And so you owe, and the network does participate and help a great deal in the selection of material.
Fascinating work. I bet you loved every minute of it.
And I've worked very closely with Bill Stork at NBC, and because most of the Hallmark shows...
Does he deliver babies?
No, I don't know. I know he has some of his own, but, but I don't think he delivers them. But we work with all of the networks, basically, but the Hallmark show has been for 25 seasons on NBC, but I've worked with similar men in similar capacities at all of the networks. And I do think there's an encouraging thing for the future, because I think Hallmark has been so successful and has won so many awards that other corporate advertisers, like AT&T,
yeah.
Certainly Xerox and Mobil and IBM have all, Eastman, have tried very hard to present to the public television that's really worthwhile, event television that does make a contribution because it's such a powerful medium. It really is, and it gets to so many people and gets there so directly and so forcefully right in the home, that the power for good is there, and it's fun to have some of these major corporations. I know right now I'm working with AT&T in developing programs for their Bell System Family Theater. And their objectives are so high, you know, they really are high-level objectives. And it's just fun to work with people who care about what is presented, what the public should have, not kind of control it, but trying to raise it up to a level that is accepted. I think recently things like Eleanor and Franklin, and through the bicentennial period, I know, well, for example, 3 Hallmark shows have just won Christopher Awards recently. The Rivalry, which was the Lincoln-Douglas debates. Valley Forge, Maxwell Anderson's story of that awful winter with George Washington. And The Troops, All Creatures Great and Small, which I mentioned earlier. All have worthwhile themes, and they're constructive, and yet they're entertaining, and they're dramatic.
Those were the 3 Christopher Awards that
we were just awarded, yes.
And you accepted those?
Yes, right. Yes, real thrill. Yes, it is. It really is to have your work recognized. And of course, over the years, the Hallmark show has won more Emmys than any other program that's ever existed. Maybe one of the reasons it's been on longer, but I do think they've been worthwhile endeavors and deserve their recognition. It's fun to be recognized for hard work in that area, and then the recognition goes to the set designers and the writers and the actors and the directors. It's not given, the awards are not given to Hallmark, they're given to the people that Hallmark selects to work for them, which is kind of nice, so that the individuals are really recognized. And that's a good thing.
And Dwayne Bogey, that was a good thing for Mr. Hall, too.
Well, it was indeed, because I think the quality of the television was exactly what Mr. Hall wanted, because he wanted to reflect the quality of his products, and they've worked well together all these years. And I have hopes for the future of television, because there are people like Mr. Hall and his son Donald, who's now running the Hallmark Company, and people like Herb Schmertz at Mobil, the people at AT&T like Jack Holland, Martin Duffy, Ed Block, who are people who are concerned about presenting television that's worthy for the family, so that by the time you spend an hour or 2 hours or an evening with television, it's been a worthwhile experience. It doesn't have to be always educational, but it should have a worthwhile, constructive kind of inspirational feeling. Not everything, but there should be enough of it so that you can be selective. And I think there are good people in the creative end of it, directors like George Schaefer and Paul Bogart, and producers like David Susskind, and who are concerned, who want to present good television. And there's enough of them around, so I think the future of television will be great. And who knows, the individual will probably be selecting his own programming in years to come through computers, and in his own home will have the capability of punching up the programming schedule for any particular evening so that he can choose and select that kind of programming that he wants, whether it be opera or drama or ballet or comedy or what. And I think, I really think it's a great time to be looking forward into television. It's not going to be the big, vast wasteland that Newton Minow talked about years ago.
Yes. Well, this has been terrific. This is Dwayne Bogey. Thanks so much, Dwayne.
Well, thank you. I've had a wonderful time.
Well, so have we.
Yeah, great.
Dwayne Bogey on A Chat with Glendora, everybody. Dwayne Bogey seemed to know everybody. There wasn't a famous name in theater that he just doesn't know. What a wonderful job. What a wonderful life. Well, folks, the United States Senate has agreed to an amendment that increases tax benefits for persons who, because of a job transfer, must move to a new area. And that's just in time for O.J. Simpson.